I'd like to call this meeting to order. April 2nd, we are starting at 5:05. We missed the dreaded April 1st, so we're in good shape. Let's call the roll.
John Miller,
Here.
Ezra Craig, Peter Dwyer,
Here.
Chris Cabezet is absent, Vlad Dumitrescu, absent, Carol Perez,
Here.
Jim Chard.
Here. Okay, would somebody kindly make a motion to approve the agenda?
Any changes?
No.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. And apparently we have no minutes. Here's Vlad.
Thank you.
We have no minutes from previous meetings, so we'll skip over that one. Our next step is to swear in the public. If anybody has an intention to speak on items on the agenda today, kindly hold up the right hand and take the oath.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
This is the time that the public can make comments on items that are not on the agenda. They may be here for other issues. I don't see anybody rising to speak, so I'm going to say that there's no one here to speak on other items. Any presentations, Michelle?
We've changed the order of the agenda a bit, and the presentations are at the end for the Historic Preservation Board Awards, so that we could handle the quasi items first.
Gotcha. Is that a one-time change or?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I guess we're ready to move on to the quasi-judicial items. Could you enter into the record COA 2025-142?
Yes, staff enters 2025-142 into the record certificate of appropriateness for 125 South Swinton Avenue.
I've got both of you helping me. Any conversations with the applicants?
No.
None.
None?
None.
If you want to go ahead and read the rules as well
Okay.
before we get started.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll open your presentation.
Okay.
And you can advance using.
This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with the City of Delray Beach quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be permitted to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or a group who are present but agree not to speak. The city commission, our board, staff, and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant may be allowed to offer rebuttal
So it used to be like
testimony.
a circle. But let me get you queued up.
The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not legally be made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations.
Okay, the applicant, John William Boyle, is here, the owner of 125 South Swinton Avenue, and will make a presentation. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Boyle. I own 125 South Swinton. Maybe I'm too close to this mic. The house needs a new roof. Currently, it's a green color. We'd like to switch it, new metal roof, but a white color. Just for aesthetics. I never liked the green. I don't think it fits the neighborhood. Oh, should I push different buttons? Okay, hold on. Okay, that's the house just to the left side. That's the house to the right side. These are 4 photos of my house. As you can see, the right side, the center, left side, and the center. This green roof is it's rusting in the front, and it really needs replacing. That's a computer-generated image from the Dynamic Metals, which is the company out of Stewart that manufactures the roof material. And it's not perfect color, but it's similar to what my house looks like and what it will look like with the white roof. That's really about it. It's kind of not a big presentation. Are there any questions?
We need to wait for staff presentation, and then we'll have a
I'm sorry?
discussion. We need to wait for the staff presentation,
Oh, okay.
so you could sit down.
Okay.
And then there may be questions. We'll see.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Just give us a moment. I forgot I need to queue up the other presentation. And for the record, this is Nicole Brink. She is a new planner in training on our team, working with the historic team for the next couple of months, and then she'll transition and work over with our long-range planning team. So this is her first time presenting before a board, and I turn it to Nicole.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right. The item before the board is a certificate of appropriateness request for a 125 South Swinton Avenue, which is located in the Old School Square Historic District, for the replacement of the existing green standing seam metal roof with a new white standing seam metal roof. The subject property contains a 1921 contributing one-story frame, vernacular style structured, and has a detached garage in the rear. The structure's original roof was a asphalt shingled and had been maintained until 1997, when the roofing material was changed to a green standing seam metal roof. On July 2nd, 2008, HPB approved exterior alterations for the main structure, which included window replacements, alteration of the front porch, and replacement of the rear sliding glass doors and the replacement of the front door to French doors. In 2015, a building permit was issued for a deck addition in the rear of the property, and in 2020, a building permit was issued for an addition of a swimming pool in the rear of the property. This, I think we went too far ahead.
I went ahead one,
Okay,
so you can see it. You can go back one if you want.
yeah. So this is an aerial view of the subject property, which is located on the east side of South Swinton Avenue between Southeast 1st Street and Southeast 2nd Street. This we have the images for the existing front elevation facing South Swinton Avenue. And here is the north elevation of the house. And here is the south elevation of the house. And here is the rear elevation of the house. And finally, the rear detached garage. I've included a survey of the property for informational purposes. And this is the proposed regal white color of the standing seam metal roof. As you can see. And then regarding standard 1 of the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, the use of the property will remain a residence as it was traditionally used. Therefore, the property will be used as the original historic purpose, meeting the intent of the standard. Regarding standards 2 and 9, the structure originally had an asphalt shingle roof, and it was approved for replacement with a green standing seam metal roof in 1997. I have included screenshots from the standard and guidelines, which note that the replacement of an original material with a compatible material is the recommended approach for a historic structure. Also, the Delray Beach Historic Preservation Design Guidelines provide guidelines for roofing. With respect to the relationship of materials, texture, color, visual compatibility standard, the relationship of materials shall be compatible with the predominant materials used within the historic district. While there has been much debate over the use of the metal roofing within the Delray Beach's 5 historic districts, it is a material that has been documented as being utilized on a case-by-case basis, particularly on wood frame structures. I have highlighted sections staff analyzed in relation to the request. Staff concerns relates to the use of the metal roof that is not a mill finish. Mill finish means that the material in its original metal finish or silver in appearance. Such finish is what would have been available for use originally, where painted metal roofs are a modern material finish. The board will need to make a decision that the white standing seam metal roof is an appropriate roofing material for the use on the subject frame vernacular style structure, ensuring compatibility for the structure and the overall use in the overall historical district. Finally, these are my hold on. Whoop. This one? Yeah. Finally, these are my findings that the board must utilize in making such a determination. Thank you so much, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. At this point, this is a time for public comment on this item. Has there been anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this item? They should make their way to the microphone. Having said that, is there any rebuttal from the applicant to the staff presentation?
Not quite sure what I'm supposed to have a rebuttal for. It seemed like a correct presentation.
Okay.
They had their facts right, and they did a good job helping me along the way. Katharina, both Michelle's and Nicole, very helpful. Okay, thanks.
Kim?
No rebuttal. Let's take it to the board then. Anybody want to be first?
I got a quick question. So it looks like from the overhead, and it's kind of fuzzy, the back part of this is almost a flat roof or very, very low pitch. Is that included with the standing seam as well, or is that more of a gravel top? Or?
No, the back I'm not changing. The flat part will stay the same. It won't be metal.
And what is the?
It's I think it's rolled asphalt. It's
Okay,
it is
so it's
asphalt.
hard.
Yeah, but-
like almost a gravel look.
Yes,
Okay.
and there is another peaked area that does come towards the back. That will be metal. You could see it on the top.
So just the higher pitched areas are going to
Yes, and with the little garage, both of those pitches will be changed also.
be. And did you consider a mill finish?
I looked and looked, and Michelle explained the history of mill finishes to me, but it doesn't really excite me, mainly because the front of that house, half of the front is a roof view. It's not like just a roof you don't see, but you look at it and it's just, I'd say more than half of the front view is the roof. And I never really liked the mill finish myself.
Okay. All right. Just I had to ask. It'll turn grayish over time anyway, unless you keep it clean. So.
No, I'll clean it. I'll
right.
keep it clean.
Carol? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I was just gonna say overall, yeah, it probably originally had a cedar shake or some type of shake roof on there before, and then it turned into asphalt, and then it turned into standing seam, which I'm okay. I'm fine with going with the white, but that's my opinion.
Carol?
I'm fine with it.
I have a question. Why did you pick the green in the first place?
No, the green was done by a prior owner.
By the prior
Yeah.
owner, okay. And now in terms of the imagery, I'm not sure if that's your question to answer. doesn't look green here. Maybe it's just the angle where I am. I mean, this one looks more like mill finish, but it's green, correct?
It's green if you go
It's
to the
like,
rear.
is it me or just my eyes or the angle?
It's the glare of the sun. In this picture, you can see
Because the
green.
photos look really green.
Yeah,
And-
in
and-
real life, you can see here it looks more green than.
Probably pretty oxidized too.
Well, I mean, personally, I'm not too crazy about the white because it's unusual for that sort of environment. Even, I mean, I can't be against it, but I just say that I don't think the green or the mill or the kind of gray kinda would have been, in my opinion, more appropriate than the white. White. I've seen examples just driving now. I've seen something done, and to be honest with you, I don't think it looks very, very rich, you know, at the end. But that's it's very subjective. I got that. I cannot say I will not allow you to use white.
Keep going.
I would think maybe you can, I don't know, ask another opinion or something. I think it's really not the best you can do from in a historic neighborhood, you know.
There is another house.
Sorry, sir. I appreciate it.
speak
Unless he directs a question to
Okay.
you, it's just
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
board
well, I
discussion.
don't have a
Okay.
question. I understand that you prefer the white. Did they make you aware? Is it gonna fade? Is it gonna change in color? You might be not as pleased with that. It's not quite. It's not really per se a natural finish, you know. It's
The
a-
roofer said it's going to stay looking the same.
With the sun in Florida, I'm not sure, but it's fine. I mean, it's your choice, really. I'm not going to
Okay.
oppose it.
I don't have any comments except to say it's a very straightforward request, and I support it.
Thank you.
I have one question, and that is you said in your comment, sir, that it fit in better with the neighborhood if it were white rather than green. Could you?
I believe so. The neighborhood, there's a house, 300 block, beautiful, has a beautiful white roof. I think it's 345. I was going to add it to the presentation, but my roofer said it's outside the historic district and we shouldn't even add it. But it's a beautiful white roof. And there's others I've seen driving through Delray. But that whole block is changing with the Sunday Village, and there's a lot of bright, clean, white buildings. And the yellow with the really dull green is a depressing look, in my opinion. It doesn't fit in with the new, clean, sharp. I want to look at my house and smile, not look at it and grimace. It really is not to me, it's ugly. Okay, I don't know how else to say it. I want it to be-
Plus paying for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's your house.
Yeah. Okay, can I have a motion?
Sure. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of the Certificate of Appropriateness 2025-142 for the property located at 125 South Swinton Avenue, located within the Old School Square Historic District, by finding that the request and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second? Have to speak
I'll
up?
second.
Okay.
Carol?
All right. Diane, call the roll.
John Miller,
Yes.
Ezra Craig is absent, Peter Dwyer,
Yes.
Chris Cabeza is absent, Vlad Dumitrescu,
Yes.
Carol Perez,
Yes.
Jim Chard.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you, Michelle and Nicole.
You're welcome.
Let me see.
We like those compliments. That's nice. All right. We now go to,
Yeah, item 7B.
right?
I'd like to enter file 2025-049 into the record. This is for 200 Northeast Fifth Court, and the applicant and owner and his architect, I believe, are here and will make a presentation. If they could please come to the podium now.
Any discussions with the applicants? Carol?
No.
No.
Or anyone.
No.
No.
None.
None.
In the vein of transparency, my name is Mark Hunley. I'm the managing partner at Charette International Architecture and agent for the owner, TJ Connolly, who's here in the back. I would like to declare a slight conversation with an absent board member, Chris Cabezas. He and I work together consistently on a professional basis. About 2 weeks ago, he simply asked if I was coming before the board anytime soon, and I told him yes. That's about the extent of it, and he's not here to vote. So this is the Connolly residence at 200 Northeast 5th Court. I've included a location map just for reference as far as where it's at. It is on a corner lot. Current photos of the property, single-family residence with a gable roof. It currently has a shingle roof, which is one of the reasons that we're here, and some photos of the subject property. Very well maintained, with some hedges up front. There's currently a uncovered patio on the west side, which is the picture you see there on the left. That's primarily where most of the work is actually going to be done on the exterior of the project. The scope. So we're doing a new covered patio on the west side of the property that's currently uncovered. It's going to be covered. The standing seam metal roof will be installed in place of the shingles. It actually brings it into a more cohesive look in the neighborhood because I believe that both, as I said, it's a corner property, so it's got a neighbor to the east and a neighbor to the south on the same block. Those both have metal roofs. The neighbor across the street to the north and across the street to the west also have metal roofs. So this is actually bringing it more into a cohesive. This is just about the only project with a shingle roof. New front door. We're going ahead and doing new exterior windows and doors as needed in order to be able to accomplish the renovation that's going on. Just a new family room, bath, 2, and office as part of the interior layout, including a laundry room and utility room. Renovation of the kitchen inside, interior closets, partial interior reconfiguration. So really, as far as the site plan goes, you've got the existing site on the left and the proposed site on the right. The predominant portion of the site work that's going to be occurring is that yellow rectangle. That's where we're doing a covered patio as opposed to a uncovered. Inside, we are taking the existing plan on the top portion of the page and turning it into the big proposed plan on the bottom. Basically, there's going to be an office added down at the towards the front door area. The current master suite, which is actually to the right of this piece of paper, so the west side of the project, that master suite is being reconfigured into a family room, laundry, and bathroom down in that area. And the kitchen is getting greatly reconfigured in order to open things up quite a bit in order to be able to look out and see things out onto the covered patio. And then we're adding the covered patio on the west side of the project, which is to the right side of this piece of paper. There's the existing roof plan and the new roof plan. You can see we're tying in cohesively with the same pitch gable as an extension with the covered patio. And you can see on the elevations, the front or north elevation existing on top, proposed just down below. You can see we're basically reconfiguring the windows in order to accomplish the interior modifications. Adding the patio on the side with the same gable roof and then putting in the standing seam metal. And you can really see that we're tying in with the existing gable on the west elevations, which is at the bottom. The top shows the existing and the bottom shows the proposed. Again, tying in to the existing pitch, existing gable. Same thing on the south. And on the east, on the bottom, you won't actually see anything because there's not really any work occurring there as far as exterior massing goes. Renderings of the project show the addition of the patio there, and on the top it shows it to the right hand side, on the bottom it shows it towards the left hand side. Extension of the roof. Some of the colors that are being used, the house body color is going to stay the kind of pure Sherwin-Williams 7005 pure white that it is. And the roof is going to go with the champagne finish, which also ties in with the body color and ties in with some of the neighboring projects. And that's about it as far as our presentation goes. I look forward to staff's report and questions from the board. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, I'm Katharina Palavoda, Senior Historic Preservation Planner. This is a COA, file number 2025-049. It's a certificate of appropriateness for the property located at 200 Northeast 5th Court. So here you can see an aerial. The location is at the intersection of Northeast 5th Court and Northeast 2nd Avenue. This property consists of Lot 1, Block 8 of Delida Park. The property is located within the locally designated Delida Park Historic District. It contains a non-contributing one-story structure that was constructed in 1952. Along with this request, there is a roof material change along with some additional modifications, which include the replacement of windows and doors and a rear porch on the west rear side of the side of the property. We wanted to note in the staff report that the window modifications meet the appropriateness for the white aluminum metal with clear glass. The rear porch is also a smaller, I think it's 10%, which allows it to be administratively approved. So specifically the request before the board tonight is going to be for the roof change. Okay, here we can see the north elevation as it exists today. This is the west side, the south, and here we have a survey, so you can see the existing structure, also to match the existing site plan. Okay, this is a proposed site plan with I believe it's 200, the patio addition is 266 square foot. So it was less than 10% of the existing structure. So essentially, according to our matrix, that can be administratively approved by staff. Here we can see the existing floor plan versus the proposed floor plan. We can see the addition, the open air addition in the rear. I'm sorry, it's the side west. This is the existing front elevation, and then you can see where the addition is. And then we also see where the blue is on the top, these existing windows that are being modified on the north elevation. This is the existing west side. So there you can see there's some modifications to windows and doors to accommodate the open air porch. And then we see the roof line and the newly constructed porch. Okay, this is the proposed rear. There are no modifications to the windows. A door is being added, and then you can see the material change on the roof. Okay, proposed east side. The only changes to the windows is the replacement to the impact windows, and then there you can see the change in the roof being proposed. Okay, as the applicant did note, the color is not changing on the existing structure. The open air porch will have the exact same color as the exterior of the existing non-contributing structure, and then the roof will be it's standing seam metal but in the champagne color. Okay, here's some renderings. This is the northwest side, southwest. Okay, these are excerpts from the Secretary of the Interior standards that is shown in the report. We did note that this is a non-contributing structure. With regards to the material, there's no concerns. But we did need the board to make a determination whether or not the champagne color would be appropriate for visual compatibility along with the masonry structure as well as the historic district. Okay, these are the Secretary of the Interior standards that apply, and then these are the visual compatibility standards. So that goes to specifically roof shapes, relationship of materials, textures, and color, and the proportion of openings for the windows and doors. Okay, these are the certificate of appropriate findings, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this presentation? Seeing none, let's take it to the board. Carol, do you want to lead off? Any rebuttal by the applicant to staff?
No, thank you.
Staff to applicant?
None from staff, thank you.
See, I knew that.
Mind reader.
Just, it looked like the renderings had a gray roof. And here I think we're here to talk about the roof, and you're going to a champagne color?
Yes, to a champagne color. It does look like I missed getting the champagne adjusted in that one after the color had been decided. You are correct.
So it's a metal roof.
It will be a metal standing seam metal roof with the champagne color will be the final determination. Yes.
And that seems like the champagne color is really light, or very light color, almost towards the white. Or I really don't have an issue with that color.
It's such a slight
Yeah.
pitch on that roof, you're never
Yeah,
going to see
it's-
it
it's very
unless you're
slightly.
looking at it from above.
Okay, I have a question for the planner. I understand that this was approved administratively, the addition. It's just that I'm not sure if you consider the standard 9 on both. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not really us to say that now, but it's just usually you create like a certain change between the new and the old.
Mhm.
And they did that in one side, but not on the other one.
Mhm.
It would have been very easily to create that in both sides.
So typically for regular contributing structures, the standards would apply, and we would usually apply standard 9, and whether or not there's any slight differences. This particular structure, however, is non-contributing. So we're looking at the standards that, like standard 1, it notes that, this structure was historically a single family structure. So it's something we apply. But when it comes to actually applying specifically like distinctions and things like that, because it's non-contributing, it doesn't technically really apply for this one. I mean, if they want to do that, it's nice, but this structure is not considered historic.
Can I just make the point that maybe they consider?
And according to our surveys, it's so far departed from the original structure, it won't be contributing in the future. Yes, that's important.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
is because we've had a survey, obviously, over the last 25 years.
Yes.
And that's, so I don't want to dwell on it too much, but what changed with this one? Because it seems it's a pretty modest structure right now. So it's departed that much from the original?
This openings. I would assume, I'd have to look at
Don't
the
worry
surveys,
about
but I guess Michelle's reviewed it a little bit better, but I assume it's the openings that have made the difference.
50 years from
and
now, it
not
could
so
be
much the
considered
footprints.
contributing, though.
Well, no, I was just talking about the porch addition.
Yeah.
The covered porch or because it is they could move it in both sides, so it's not aligned with the old. I mean, they did it in one side. If
Yeah,
you
they
actually-
jogged the roof down, so
yeah,
it's
but in one side
differentiated.
only. On the other
There's
one, they
a
could have
slight
done
jog
it
in the
on
roof.
both sides.
Well, there's not a lot of room, I don't think,
This-
on that
this-
other side.
I'm talking about 4 inches.
So what is proposed? Let's assume this was a contributor.
Right.
Okay, let's talk through that. And if this were coming in and before the board as a contributor, and we were applying all of the applicable standards, there are some that apply for new construction
understand.
within historic districts, as Catherine has said. But if this were a contributor and they were coming in with this porch, we wouldn't have any conflict in our analysis that there's a conflict with the code, because there is a differentiation. They're not following the exact roof line. They've stepped it down. And the porch is more of a utilitarian use. It's something that could be removed in the future without affecting the main structure. So being that it's a non-contributor, that is not anticipated to become a contributor in the future, even if it were 50 years from now, we think it would continually not qualify.
Okay.
And that's because
Because there have been alterations to the structure from what it originally was. The last survey has not been adopted, but the work was done in 2020, identified this was not going to be reclassified as contributing. But in either scenario, I think, you've got an addition here that's a porch, a covered porch, and there is some differentiation that's almost more something that the trained eye would pick up, even though it's less subtle with the step the way it is. So we haven't identified anything in the design of the proposal that would raise concern. But we do understand,
No, it would be very easy. That's what I'm
yes,
trying to
and
say.
you're
It's not- there's
speaking
nothing-
for sure
Nothing that
from,
would ruin at all anything.
yes, sir.
As long as they slightly lower the roof and move it in
Sure.
construction even. You will
And-
have a similar situation both sides instead of one side only for the
And-
roof.
Sure, and you're looking at it from an architectural standpoint, as we do too, but our standards are the historic preservation requirements, which are a mix of architecture analysis too. But sure, we understand what you're
Appreciate
saying.
it. It was just a recommendation.
It's a great comment, thank you.
My question was it intentional to do that? Or is Vlad's recommendation something that you would consider?
Well, from what I'm understanding, you're looking at the way that the roof steps down slightly on the north side, but not on the south side.
And not
correct?
on the other side.
So there's a couple driving forces behind that. The fact that it steps slightly on the north side helps us avoid any kind of request for variances due to setbacks and things like that, because actually currently the portion that sticks out further to the north there is encroaching.
I see what you
And so part of it is avoiding that. The fact that it ties into the roof on the south side, we didn't consider that to be a significant hurdle, simply because of landscaping and other structures that are there. If you look at the pictures of the existing project from the south side, it's almost impossible to even get a picture from over there. So that portion of the structure will probably actually never be seen. It essentially, not the rendering side, but if you actually look at the existing house photos, you can see to get that photo, it's actually a picture that's there. You go. And that it's that picture that's taken down the side that you literally can't get far enough away from it to be able to take the picture. So those were the main reasons that it wasn't considered to be a critical area, and one of the reasons that it was stepped down in order to avoid any kind of variance requests.
I mean, yeah, I'm in favor of it. I'll support it. The only thing that surprised me that there was no back door on this house. That kinda
Actually, there
surprised
was.
me.
That's my mistake.
Oh, there was.
Yes,
All right.
the door's not changing.
Okay.
It's being improved, but the door is there. You can actually see on that upper elevation that there is a stoop in place there already. So
All right.
it's
All right.
my fault.
No worries. I just found that a
I
little
admit fault.
surprising. Okay.
I've been married for 23 years. I'm trained to admit when I'm wrong.
Peter?
I don't have any comments.
Okay, and all my comments have already been raised, so I have none. I guess-
Need a motion.
Yep, okay.
I'd like to approve the certificate of appropriateness 2025-049 for the property located at 200 Northeast 5th Court, Del Ida Park Historic District, by finding that the request and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second.
Call the roll.
John Miller,
Yes.
Ezra Craig is absent, Peter Dwyer,
Yes.
Chris Capez is absent, Vlad Dumitrescu,
Yes.
Carol Perez,
Yes.
Jim Chard.
Yes.
Great. I'd like to thank the board very much. Thank staff as well. It was good seeing you all again. See you in the next one.
For the record, my name is Michelle Hewitt, planner, and I'm reading agenda item 7C for 146 Southeast 7th Avenue, COA 2025-056. And to the record, we have the architect here to present on behalf of the property owners.
Mr. Chair, Dave, we need to be sworn in. I assume we do.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Any ex parte conversations?
Yes, I'm going to step down from the job because I am the landscape architect. Excuse myself.
No, none.
None.
And none.
Just wait a brief moment, thank you.
Good thing you showed up, Vlad.
I know, it's just like,
Didn't have a quorum on this one.
yeah.
It's tight. Go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yes, please, go ahead, thanks.
So, good afternoon, Chairman and board members. My name is Christian Mendoza, and I'm here representing GE Architecture. Our address is 1045 East Atlantic Ave, Delray Beach. With me tonight here, it's also Jake and Gary Eliopoulos, and our clients, if you guys have any questions for them. We want to thank you first and foremost for allowing us to present tonight, which we feel this is a great addition to our historic Marina District. For those who may not be familiar with the site, we are located in the northwest corner of 2nd Ave and the southeast, 2nd Street and southeast 7th Ave. Like so many sites in the district, this one, it's a very challenging one because of the unique surroundings, right? And the fact that this intersection, it's actually like one of the gateways, entrances to the district. Here, I'm showing you some of our zonings, which again, for the most part, we have CBD zoning, R188 zoning, RM, and CF, where we have the church. Unfortunately, we cannot select who buys and or what they build in the district. But if we could, I believe that this is what we should want to see. Although our clients could have been looking at building a multi-story of 2-unit structure, they are embracing the district with a single-family residence, which mostly be a 1-story. Which again, we dropped our zoning from a RM to a R18, and this is all due to our clients respecting every single aspect when it comes to the density and when it comes to the historic Marina District. Here we have a picture of the existing vacant lot, which again, it has been vacant since 1991, and for many years has been used as a parking lot for the church and Sunday Mass. As we stated earlier, the property could have been considered a multi-family structure, or like this design which the previous owner was planning on bringing in front of you guys. Basically a 2-story structure which is taking the whole site. Here we have the elevations, and I believe that back then we used to reference to this building as a sugar cube or as a white box. We are not suggesting that this would have been approved by the submittal, has been approved by the submittal package, but it was completed prior to our client purchasing the property. Here it's one of the area views, and right away we can see one of our challenges, which is a 5-story building with a pool deck. I can assure you that whoever gets up there, the first thing that they'll do is look straight at the sea, straight at the ocean, and we are right below there. The other 2 arrows are pointing to the things that we are also looking at, which the first one will be the Firestone garage doors and the church. Here it's a quick drone footage which demonstrate the majority of the properties along the west side of 7th Ave, which for the most part, they are actually multi-family structures. In the first, on the few first slides, I'll be showing you some of the adjacent properties. And one of the things that I want to point out whenever you look to our elevations it'll be that we are a tiny bit higher than the rest, which the surroundings of our properties are a few feet lower than us. And all of that, it's not due to our clients. This is all due to FEMA and building code, which it's throwing us at 9 feet. Here it's the church. Here it's the Firestone garage and the 5-story building. Here it's another picture or another view of our side, where we're highlighting that we are dedicating a 5 feet right of way for the existing sidewalk, and what we call also a corner clip at the intersection of 2nd and 7th. With our proposed submittal, you will see that we are not requesting any reliefs. We are complying with all the setbacks. And again, we are highlighting on the red the 5 feet sidewalk dedication and the 25 feet radius corner clip. Right on the blue, we are highlighting the existing sidewalk along the south side of the property, which staff would like our client to shift towards the south an additional 8 inches because it crosses their property line. And that doesn't seem fair considering it's one that the city constructed. And to give you an estimate cost of rebuilding that sidewalk, it'll be around $9,000. Here we have our proposed site plan, and now breaks down some of the area calculations. So a total lot size of our site will be 9,179 square feet. When it comes to our proposed ground floor, we are at 2,365 square feet. When it comes to our second floor plan, or our second floor, we're only 603 square feet, which that will bring a total on the roof of a 4,029 square feet. Here it's our proposed ground floor, which we broke down into 3 different categories. So the purple will be everything that it's under AC, the blue it's everything that it's under roof, and the green it's everything when it comes to outdoor areas and the pool deck. Here we have our proposed second floor, and again I want to make clear that we are only 603 square feet, which we are talking only about a 14% overall of the square footage. Here in this slide, again, we're highlighting that the majority of the house structure, it's a single story, and how we are above the minimum open space of a 25% to a 36%. In this slide, we are showing you how we are breaking the roof. So the first roof that we have the purple to be the lower level roofs, and then we have the mid-level roofs, upper level roofs, and trellises. And that it's just for us to break some of that massing. And at this point, I'll pass it to Jake.
Okay, so on this side we have the proposed east elevation. And I have the setbacks shown that we are complying, but one thing I want to point out is that dimension in the center at 27 feet and 9 inches, which is well below the mean roof height of 35 feet. And then here in the shaded area is to show that we do comply with the building height plane and that a maximum of 25% can project above it. So here we have the proposed north elevation, and you see how we are shifting the front property line 5 feet for a sidewalk dedication, along with how we're complying with the front and rear setbacks and the building height plane. That's showing the setbacks. Alright, so similar to the previous slide, here's the proposed south elevation, and we try to minimize the 2-story proportion at the rear of the house with the proposed front massing of the house and the roof lines. And here's the proposed west elevations, again compliant with the setbacks. Staff stated that due to the massing and the blank wall space that they would like us to have 2 garage doors. And typically we would, if we're facing the side and or front of the house, we would do something like that, but we are limited to space due to we're facing an alley, and we wanted to go with a larger single door for easier accessibility for vehicles. And now we're going to go into what it's facing in this alley. So here's a fire sprinkler pump and a transformer. And the next slide, you could see exhaust vents, used cooking oil waste, meters, gas meters, fire pump room, storage room entrance, and essentially back of house of this hotel. So now we'll go into the 2D renderings, and I'll try and go through them relatively quick so we could go to the proposed 3D renderings. So here we have the east elevation, and staff has mentioned in the report that the use of synthetic materials are discouraged for structures within the historical district, such as boral instead of decorative wood trim. And the issue with that is when this decorative wood trim is exposed to these extreme South Florida weathers, it typically does not hold up well. And when painted, you can't really tell the difference between this real wood and the boral. I actually have here 2 examples if you guys want to see. From the naked eye, it's really hard to tell the difference of the material, except the boral does have a lot better longevity.
Do you want to pass that around?
Yeah, I'd love to. Here you go. To continue, here's the proposed north elevation. Another item staff brought up was stucco lap siding instead of hardy board siding. Hardy board is actually a cementitious material. It's not wood, it's a great product, but it was originally designed for wood framed houses up north, not concrete block homes. And as you guys know, here in South Florida, we have to comply with a lot of hurricane codes, and typically it's going to deal with concrete block homes. In addition to that, it's a major expense for our client, and for them to not be forced to spend when stucco lap siding is a very viable alternative. And here we have the proposed south elevation. I do want to point out that in the last 15 years or so, the city started accepting aluminum doors and windows within the district, and it's because they protect the structures better than the wood products. And as time changes, better products might come online should we consider them. And another thing I do want to point out in this elevation, you could see it to the right side on the ground floor. There's kind of a tree in the way. I'll show it on the back side as well, but there's a window that staff made a comment about muttons not being on the window. We feel that it doesn't really disturb anything. There will be furniture and whatnot in front of it, and hopefully it shows it better in the 3D renderings, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with anything. So here we have the proposed west elevation. Based on previous comments from staff, we did make the upper windows larger. They wanted the lower window in the bottom left to be larger. The only issue is it's in a stairwell, so it wouldn't exactly make sense to have that one be larger. So to do another little material analysis, here's a close-up of stucco lap siding, and this is about 2 feet away from it. And staff seem to be focusing on the description of PVC trim, which could be misunderstood for plastic siding, but it's actually just a light line along the bottom of the lap siding, which is the part that's PVC. The rest of it is stucco, and again, if you're far away, it will read as wood. And another thing I want to point out about this picture is this lap siding here was constructed in 2004, and as you can see, it still holds up very well. So now we're going to go into the 3D renderings, which hopefully will give you all a more realistic look of the proposed design on the site. In this one, this is at the southeast corner of the site. We're proposing a fireplace area, and we're going to continue going around that southern side. And here's a couple outdoor seating areas, which we feel that we're helping to break up the massing of the exterior elevations. Here's a head-on shot that shows the raised pool area. And if you guys can look at the center area, in the next slide I'm going to point out the phantom screen there. And when the sun is out, it will look rather dense, but I assure you guys at nighttime, if you have lights on the patio, you could tell it's rather transparent. And we're going around this same southern side. And here's the western elevation facing that backside of the hotel. And here's the north area. And one of the windows with the muttons not on the window is along this side. So essentially it faces nothing that the public will see. And lastly, we have a few renderings that are on the actual site. So here's an aerial of that. Here's another angle. One thing I want to point out in this one is we tried to proportion the second story of the house to be blocking the public view from that hotel and try and give our client more privacy. Here's another one, and I just want to go back to what Christian said earlier, that due to FEMA, it made us raise the house, or the base of the house, to 9 foot above sea level. So we could assume that the adjacent property next to it might be around roughly 6 foot. That concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to address any comments and or questions you might have. And thank you guys again for allowing us to present this to the board.
Thank you very much. Are we ready for staff?
Great, just pulling up the presentation. All right, once again, Michelle Hewitt, planner, and this is for 146 Southeast 7th Avenue. The request before the board is for the construction of a new 2-story masonry vernacular single-family structure along with ground level improvements. Here on the screen we have an aerial with the subject property outlined in red. To the east is Southeast 7th Avenue, and to the south is Southeast 2nd Street with an alley to the west. Some brief history and information about the property. It is zoned it's zoned RM, medium density residential, and is located within the locally and nationally designated Marina Historic District. The district particularly contains a mix of 2-story and 1-story single-family and multifamily structures, and contains a multitude of different architectural styles, including Mediterranean Revival, Masonry Vernacular, Mission Revival, Minimal Traditional, and Art Modern. The subject property is currently vacant. However, a structure once existed on the subject property constructed in 1947, along with the garage built in 1950. The buildings functioned as a Sunday school / administrative office building for the property located to the south, 200 Southeast 7th Avenue, which you can see the top of poking there. In December of 1988, a site plan modification and conditional use were approved by the City Commission for demolition of the existing structures, conversion of the site to a once-a-week grass parking area for use by the former church. The demolition was completed in 1991, and the lot has since been separated from the former church property and no longer functions as a parking lot. So some existing photos here on the screen. We have the front or east elevation. This faces Southeast 2nd Avenue. Some of the existing curb stops or wheel stops are on the site, and then there are little light poles that are out there as well, remnants of the parking lot. Here is the side street or south elevation. This faces Southeast 2nd Street. This is also faces 200 Southeast 7th Avenue, also known as Chapel 4. another image of the side of the property, where you can see those existing light poles and the wheel stops. And this is the rear or west elevation. This faces the alley. Here are images of the adjacent properties. Again, to the south is 200 Southeast 7th Avenue. This is zoned CF, and to the north is a property within the RM zoning for you to see visually what's immediately adjacent to the structure or to the property. Here we have an existing survey. There are two lines that are, or two color lines on the image here. The blue is the outline, is the property prior to any dedications. There are two dedications that are required for this property. There's a 5-foot dedication along Southeast 7th Avenue and a 25 radius dedication at the corner of Southeast 7th Avenue and Southeast 2nd Street in accordance with the comprehensive plan, the mobility table. So here we have a rendering of the proposed front or east elevation for you to see. We'll get into the renderings again later on in the presentation. Here is the proposed site plan. So the outline is the new property boundaries, and then outlined in red is the overall building footprint, and then the shaded areas are the covered roofed structures that are also proposed. For ground level improvements, they include a pavered parking area in the front and a driveway in the rear, stepping stone paths, decking with a designated pool area, and fencing, gates, and walls surrounding the proposed property or site. These proposed materials are considered appropriate for the area and the architectural style. Here we have the first floor plan, the proposed first floor plan. Again, the outline is of the overall building footprint, and in those shaded areas are those covered areas. So on the back half towards the west, the alley is where the garage is proposed. You can see it's a 2-car garage for access there, and there is a pavered parking area, which you saw previously on the site plan on the front side. Here we have the second floor plan. So the darker, thicker outlined red rectangle is the only area proposed to be at the second floor level. And then we have the proposed roof plan. Here we have the proposed front or east elevation. Again, this faces Southeast 7th Avenue. On this particular facade, there is the finishing is proposed to be simulated stucco lap siding with a PVC trim. There's also a standing seam roof proposed throughout the entire structure. All the roofing is supposed to be the same. There are all of the window frames, shutters, railings are metal essentially, besides the front door is proposed to be black aluminum. Here we have the proposed side or south elevation. This faces Southeast 2nd Street. Here you can see a little bit better the how far back the second story is set from the one story and from the front of the property line. Again, in the back there on the ground floor is where that 2-car garage is proposed, and then that second story addition. This is also the facade where the proposed pool is to be located. On this particular facade, the siding is to be simulated stucco lap siding with a PVC trim, and a smooth stucco finish are proposed with a stone veneer wall adjacent to the swimming pool, which you can see a little bit better here, kind of behind the, on the left, there's a texture for that brick stone veneer, which is on this facade technically. Here we have the proposed rear or west elevation. Again, this faces the alley. Again, this is a 2-car garage in the back. This can be considered most appropriate in terms of access and location of parking within a historic district, as both of their required parking spaces are to be located in the rear. On this particular elevation, there is the simulated stucco siding and the lap siding on the second floor. And then here we have the proposed side or north elevation. This faces interior or adjacent to the structure to the north. Again, that second story being recessed. And on this elevation, the smooth stucco is proposed on the ground floor, and then that simulated stucco lap siding with PVC trim is proposed on the second floor. The base of the entire structure is proposed to have a smooth stucco finish where it is raised. All of the walls are to be painted glacier white, which can be seen as appropriate to the structure due to its neutral shade. This also assists with minimizing the contrast between the various materials proposed in the facade. Simulated stucco siding is not a material typically appropriate for structures within historic districts. Thus, the board will need to make a determination that is appropriate for the subject property. So here we're back to the renderings here, where you can see that everything is to be proposed in that glacier white color, minimizing the contrast between the various materials, and then the proposed black shutters, frames, railings, and that metal standing seam roof. Here is interior, looking west, rendering, looking south. Here we have another side view here. Again, same materials throughout the entire structure or appearance. Here we have the other side. This is where you can see where the pool is located, and some of those covered structures that are on the side here. And then we have the proposed rear west elevation, again with that garage. This faces the alley. Another image here of the interior. Again, this faces the south. So here on the screen, we have the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation with the highlighted sections that were used to analyze this. As this is new construction, as previously mentioned in an earlier presentation, most of these don't apply, but new construction, there are portions of the standards that are applicable to the request. So regarding Standard 9, the proposal involves the construction of a new two-story structure. A majority of the structure is one story, and then again, that 2 stories recessed towards the back. The district contains a mixture of 1-story and 2-story structures, so this scale can be seen as compatible comparatively. The proposal does involve additional design mitigation strategies to ensure compatibility with the Marine Historic District, such as the front porch and various offset walls, which aid in reducing the overall massing of the structure. Here we have the visual compatibility standards. As this is new construction, we have to ensure that all of these standards can be met with the request. With regard to height and scale of the building, again, as mentioned, the structure is comparable in size and massing, but it is also important to note that new construction is required to comply with the minimum finished floor elevations pursuant to FEMA regulations. So not all of the buildings in the district are currently meeting those regulations, but any new construction or proposed substantial improvement to the site will require compliance. So the proposed structure as its new construction will have a required 9-foot NAVD. It's 8 feet by FEMA and an additional 12 inches per the Florida Building Code, making it 9 feet, which results in a somewhat of a taller structure than what exists within the district. The proposed design situates the 1-story portion of the structure forward on the lot with a 2-story component in the rear of the adjacent alley that helps alleviate that additional increased height with those FEMA regulations. Here's another excerpt from the visual compatibility standards regarding materials. There is concern regarding some of the proposed materials, including a Boral composite trim feature on the garage doors, PVC trim on the gable, and synthetic lap siding on the second floor. Consideration should be given to the use of appropriate and authentic material adaptations for new construction, including metal and hardy board. Here we have the certificate of appropriateness findings that were used to analyze the request. And then here we have site plan technical items. One modification to be made to the first one is that prior to site plan certification, the plans be revised to shift the sidewalk along the south side of the property to be situated within the right-of-way and not within the boundary of the property, and moved in the field is the additional language there. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Now's the opportunity for people from the public to speak. Each one of you will have 3 minutes to speak. Could we have your name and address?
Roger Cope, Cope Architects, Inc., block away, 701 Southeast First Street. And I'm here kind of with Ann Whitehead, who's half a block, not even a half a block away, 2 lots away. We adore this house. And first of all, welcome to the owners, the new owners of the property. They're going to be our neighbors. We embrace them and welcome them. They've done a magnificent job in putting this house design together. It is really, talk about visual compatibility. This thing defines the visual compatibility, in my opinion, of that district, of that entire district. This could easily have been a 3-story house, could absolutely have been a 2-story house. It is a single-story house with a very tiny partial second floor above the garage, which is so subordinate. It's along the alley. And we all know that 5-story hotel is sitting there. Extremely visually compatible. It addresses 7th Avenue beautifully. The parking is so well set up. The flow of the house is wonderful. It's got all these beautiful components, saunas, pools, steam rooms, home office, beautiful kitchen. All the public spaces kind of outweigh the private spaces, which is really kind of cool, in my opinion. It's an ideal house set up for this specific client. There's nothing speculative about any of this. So the last thing I want to say is good luck to them. Ann and I will be there in any capacity that they may need. And if young Mr. Eliopoulos and Christian from Gary's office represents the next generation of architects in this town, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Ann, did you want to speak? Okay. Anybody else want to speak in the audience? All right. Any rebuttals? Senior Eliopoulos.
Public comment? No, thank you. It was great. We've got no comments. Thank you very much. Loved working with staff. Thank you.
Staff, any rebuttals?
None from staff.
Okay. We can take it from here, right? Peter, do you want to lead off?
Sure. Well, Gary and his team really did a nice job on this one. And I want to speak out in favor of the materials because I know that this has been an issue around town with the lap siding. And I really think the stucco lap siding is an excellent choice for a few reasons. Durability, value engineering. It's a cost-effective product. It can easily be repaired. It looks great when it's painted. And I challenge you to stand across the street and tell me if it's hardy board or if it's stucco or wood. I mean, when it's done properly. So I think it's an excellent choice. And to go with hardy board on a house like this, I mean, it would probably be twice the cost on the exterior skin because you have to mechanically fasten batten boards and waterproofing, and every board is mechanically fastened. A lot of labor involved. So I would like to see us look at this type of material more often and to give people choices. Not every home that comes through is at this level, and people need choices that provide some value, and this is a good one. And then the other material, the boral material, is excellent. And again, for similar reasons, very low maintenance, looks great when it's painted, and it will last a long time. I can't tell you how many times we come back to homes that are only 2 or 3 years old, and we have to replace column cladding, fascia boards, other trim elements that rot out. We have a harsh environment, and it's good to have these choices. So I'm definitely in support of this project and the use of the materials. And metal roofing, we've seen a lot of metal roofing tonight, so not going to comment on that. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, sure. So I've got a few notes here. Gary, good job on your coaching. So that there was definitely a recognition of the style there. I like the fact, and you know, I know it was part of the pitch, but you know, I go back to it could have been worse. So there's a lot of things that this could have gone here. Multifamily, it is zoned RM, so I do appreciate the fact that this is a single family home. It's not all 2 stories. It could have easily, you know, even the part that was not within the building site plane, there's a lot of it that's not second floor. It's broken up a lot. The massing is broken up. There's a lot of contour to it. I appreciate that. I really like the architecture of it. I'm glad it's not another Miami Modern here. I don't have an issue with the garage in the back being one big door. Turning on an alley, you need to have that, I think, flexibility. It's not, if you're driving down the alley there, you're not going to be worried about one door on the garage. You know, compared to what's across the street there, you're in, like you said, the back of the house of a hotel. The massing of the second floor, it does look a little unbalanced from the south, simply because it is all the way over on the one side, but it is the back of the house, technically speaking. It just so happens to be it's on the corner. I don't have any problem with the materials as well. I've replaced lots and lots of rotted wood. Hardy plank, in my mind, was just created to simulate wood. And this is kind of the next step, and I understand it's a historic district, but I don't have a problem with that in here, because we do need, it's a block from the intercoastal and probably less than half a mile from the ocean. It's going to get a lot of salt. And then, you know, as far as the height of the building, I think it was explained, you know, the floor elevation has been raised, and it's probably going to raise again at some point. So it is going to look higher than the existing houses, but that's, you know, nothing anybody can do about that. I did have a question on, was there any dispute on the sidewalk? They had mentioned that the city wanted them to build a new sidewalk because it encroached 6 inches on the property line. Has that been sorted out? I didn't hear anything from staff on their presentation.
We would have to check with engineering. This is more so that would be kind of like the process we have to go through. City engineer and whatever approval or request needs to be made for that. But I don't know quite what the...
Was it a liability issue, or?
Well, it's a public sidewalk on their property.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm just maybe...
From my understanding, it's a recommendation from the engineer that it can't be on their private property. The city doesn't know whether this was like who put the sidewalk in place at what point, like whether it was a church or something, but it's showing as if it's like a public sidewalk, but it's actually not all on public land, so it just has to be moved.
Yeah.
And that's something that was like indicated on comments during the process. So
I mean, if it's on their property, can they just, you know, get a stone saw and cut off 6 inches?
Yeah, absolutely. They could cut the 8 inches off. I've spoken with the architect and their team. I understand the sidewalk's not in the best condition anyway. You know, it's older sidewalk. The problem is you can't have public sidewalk within private property without an easement.
Mm-hmm.
And the city engineer, I said, well, can't they just get an easement? And he said he would not support that. That it would be better to trim the sidewalk for that section of land. If they want to modify that review, they could come back through the process and ask. The easement would have to be reviewed by the city commission, I believe. So the site plan technical item stands unless they want to work through some other solution.
Would the sidewalk be wide enough if that were sawn off?
So this is an engineering comment.
Well, the city owns the other property, so they could add 8 inches to the other side of it.
This is an engineering comment. I don't know that it's a make or break comment for this project.
Okay.
there are minimum widths, yes, 5 feet. I would hesitate to testify to you right now that, oh yeah, it would meet the requirements. I don't know. We would have to look at that.
They could also dedicate that, as they have with the corner clip and with the other sidewalk.
I think dedication of additional land seems like quite a hardship to me. Not that I'm the, hardship police, but I feel like it would be most appropriate that they wanted to question the configuration, that they coordinate with the city engineer or one of the city engineers and come up with a different solution. This is the solution we have for now because the comment has not been addressed before it got to the board.
I think there's a hardship either way. Obviously, if it is $9,000 to put in a new sidewalk.
Right, but this again is a site plan technical item. If they, want to move forward with the request, this has to be addressed in some manner. So right now, it's get it addressed prior to site plan certification. Whether they revise the plan, move the sidewalk, whatever they do, an easement. If they were able to negotiate an easement and work through the process that way, then this goes away, this item.
But it's not part of our purview, and it's not part of this
Right.
motion. So
I think what she's saying right now, it's being
Okay.
addressed as a site plan technical item, and if there is some other solution that engineering and them can work out, then so be it.
So
But
it
for
was
now, it's not before
all right.
you.
It was a public airing of grievances by the
architect
applicant,
and
yes.
his team. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
No, and
Other than that,
I did speak with the architect in between presentations to ask, how important is this? And I think that we could potentially, if it's something they're really concerned about in the cost, that could be resolved another way, and they wouldn't have to come back to the board to take a site plan technical item off if they came up with another resolution.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
So, yeah.
All right.
Vlad?
I mean, this is actually for my own education. I have a question, historic speaking. Can you bring somebody can bring the west elevation for a moment? It's something that, as an architect, I said, somebody, I'd like to get some sort of decision on that. The shutter situation. Now, I know technically the shutter should be the size of the window, so it appears as a real shutter working, which they've done, not in the renderings, by the way. The renderings were a different phase, so they're kind of smaller and all that. So you try. Do they have to? Is it a way to use folding shutters or something? Because they do have a problem. I tried to look in the plan to see if they could add shutters to all three windows, and they actually can't. The side windows will stick out. So is this a no? I mean, if you can't have shutters in all of them, should you remove them all?
No, it's a fair question. It's a design choice by the design professional, and we see this in other projects as well, where the windows are designed like this, and you wouldn't have room to accommodate a shutter, and so
it's okay.
They don't. So it's okay that there isn't symmetry across the back. And
Yes,
that way they can have that design choice. And
No, actually, it's a
that's
beautiful
okay.
facade. I have no problem with the proportions. It's kind of quirky a little bit, interesting, and it's nice. And the garage door works well. Initially I thought it was a single car door, garage. I didn't realize it was a fairly large. It's nicely done. The other thing, again for me, can they use the hurricane shutters for a situation like this to try to kind of give a little more privacy? Maybe I'm not sure how practical.
You mean like a Bahama shutter?
Well, the slope ones.
Yeah. I mean, if they wanted to come through with that kind of design approach with this, they could. But if they altered the elevations,
right,
we would have to look at it and make a call whether it's an admin approval or whether it would have to come back to the board. Being that it's not a primary
Right.
elevation, we,
Right.
would look at it. But I think we'd be looking at the entirety of the
Right.
building,
No, it's beautiful.
not just the rear, to see are there Bahama shutters elsewhere on the site.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I have nothing, but good comments about the project. Is beautiful. I have no problem. It's just that this thing was something that I run into it sometimes, and I don't know exactly how to solve it. And I just wanted to have some expert opinion on it, and
Yeah.
I got it. And
Now,
yeah,
if this was an existing historic structure
Right.
and they were cutting new windows in and every single window already had shutters and they were proposing 2 windows on the
Some
back
would.
without, we
Right.
would have an analysis in the
I
staff
understand.
report to that effect.
Interesting. The only, in defense of the shutter, the slope shutter idea, though, they will give them much more privacy. They're very exposed, the bedroom and all that to the. I'm not sure how much the hotel can look at them from
Yeah.
across the alley, but they will have just to consider. It's not a.
Some healthy
this
window
doesn't
shades
change. Doesn't change in my
on the
appreciation
inside.
of the building.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm for it.
Okay, I have a couple of thoughts here. One was the initial presentation talked about 9,000 square feet of the lot and only 4,000 under air, but it looks, at least from my eye, that there's a lot more under air and or less of the 9,000 square feet. Is that something that
I think
You should-
we'll probably have the architect answer this, but if I were to take a stab at it, when we're talking under air, we're not including the garage space, which is probably 400 square feet alone. But Mr. Iliopoulos may wish to answer.
Michelle, you are correct. So the 4,000 was under roof, not under air. So when we did that color scheme where you saw the purple, you saw there was a lot less purple. You're talking about a couple thousand square feet. Then upstairs, you saw we had 600. The balance of that is under roof, which is the porches and the garage.
Okay. I also noted that in the write-up, it talked about gray glass rather than clear glass.
So, Michelle, if you want to answer this?
Yes, this is a non-contributing structure, new construction, and it was determined by the board previously that any non-contributing structures can utilize gray glass because they're required to meet energy code requirements. And this is kind of that was the path that the board chose to apply on the windows for those that need to meet energy calcs.
But in buildings less than a block away from there, we have required them to have clear glass. I realize the contributing, non-contributing, but it would just seem to me that in terms of overall conformance in the neighborhood, to have one that has gray glass sort of standing out versus all the others with clear glass.
When you say one a block away, we have clear glass, what do you mean?
The corner of Marine Way and I believe Third, we required them to have clear glass.
So the distinction, as Michelle had noted, is we came to the board because we were having a proliferation of green colored glass.
That's the low E coating.
You got it.
Right. And the issue that we were struggling with is there were so many different varieties of green. There was reflectivity, there was iridescence. We had a number of window contractors coming through to the board after people put green glass in. And, you know, since I started here back in 2016, we have been struggling with glass color, particularly because of a mirrored window project up in Delita Park. So we came to the board and asked, what is it that you want us to tell applicants? Because many windows can go straight to permit and don't have to come to the board. And it was the board's direction that no low E be utilized or no green color. If they can get low E without green, they can do low E. Because brand new structures such as this are required to meet energy efficiency calculations, which is a prescriptive method of windows, air conditioning, roof covering, floors, insulation. How do we help them to meet the code? So the compromise was they could have green or gray glass. Historic structures don't have to meet energy calc requirements. So we stuck with the Secretary of the Interior standard, the board did, and said they want to continue to have clear glass for those structures. So with a new structure, they can have gray glass. That doesn't mean they can't have clear if an owner just really wanted clear, but they're probably going to have to do a more energy efficient roof or air conditioning unit. So this is the standard that the board outlined and approved for us to move forward with. And they are meeting it. Now, the window frame color, black, that's something different. We're seeing more frequently for new construction. White has been the direction with past boards, white frame for both historic and new structures. But we're seeing this more and more. So it's not really an issue with the color of the glass.
Referencing the frame, I think there was mention made early on in the presentation about this isn't another white sugar cube. And to me, the roof all white and the facade all white with some black trim still has somewhat of a feeling of the white sugar cubes that are going up around the city.
Actually, the roof will be a slate gray. It's not shown reflected in that rendering. As far as the sugar cube is just a quick terminology of cubes. I mean, this house, for me, I would tell you, I don't feel is a sugar cube. It is white. That part is true, but that's just a color. When you're dealing with the modern houses, you can paint them any color you want. It's still going to be, whether you want to call it a cube or a sugar cube. So I think that's where the distinction is, and what we were referring to was more to prior to Brian and Collar buying the property. I mean, it was a full package for some reason that they were going to submit, and they ended up getting a buyer, so they didn't submit it. But it was everything that you could imagine of being a modern structure. Mm-hmm. Again, we're never suggesting that you guys would have approved it, but that's how everybody was looking at this property. They were looking at it whether to be, because the size, you could do 2 units or you could do a taller structure. Of course, if I was the architect, I'd be coming in saying, listen, I got a hotel behind me, guys, work with me. So I think this was a gift to the marina for these clients to come in. Their background are the Caribbean and Key West. That's all they talked about this structure the whole time is we want old Florida. And so we're very fortunate to have them come into this, and I'm hoping you guys will agree with that.
I do want to ask about the trees.
The trees.
And I'm sure you have an answer already prepared for that.
Where's that landscape architect that's on this board? So there's going to be some moving around with some trees and stuff. There was a goal to try and keep stuff and things like that, but I really do need Carol to respond on that. But yeah, some of those are definitely coming down, just the way it is. We're trying to create as much privacy as we can, but at the same time, we do want some sunlight. We have an arborist report. We had everything done correctly so that we know whatever we do replace, we do it either with equal and or volume, so we are complying with everything that way.
Are you doing equal genus and species, or are you replacing with palm trees?
There's going to be palms and stuff like that. So what happens is we got to equal it with the amount of palms that we got to do to that one tree if you take that tree down. And
Are those black olives along there? Or
yeah,
which
they were actually ruining that poor sidewalk that was actually encroaching on the property. I was like, what are we going to do? The sidewalk or the trees?
I mean, it could have been a duplex with the entrance on the alley too. So I'm glad we don't have that.
You'd be interested to see the possible scenarios we saw for this.
I'm sure.
So I can't ask the question of how many trees are being saved.
I think you know this part, but it's a bit out of the board's purview to. It is out of the board's purview.
I knew you were
to
going
discuss
to
the single-family home landscaping.
But say that and make the board chair maybe feel more comfortable, as we have had extended conversation about the trees via our senior landscape planner with the applicant. And again, they have the right per the Florida statutes to take the trees down. But we have all confidence that these owners are going to do a really nice landscape plan when the time comes for building permit.
Okay. I did want to ask about the west elevation on the alley. I think that's a 20-foot alley, right? That's not...
It actually is, yes. The hotel dedicated additional right-of-way, so there's no right-of-way dedication on the alley as I remember it. So yes. it's a
So isn't there sufficient turning radius to have a two-door garage?
So you probably will have the architect answer this, but we did do some review on having independent garage doors. You don't have the typical driveway approach leading up to the garage. You have the required maneuvering. There's a 42-foot maneuvering requirement from the front of the parking space to the opposite side of the alley per the code. So they meet that requirement, but we do think it would be a potential difficult radius to make with independent garage doors. Being that this is a garage facing the alley, I think it's kind of a win. But
Yeah.
if the architect wanted to speak to that further, he certainly.
Michelle, you hit it right on the button. So, when we had basically 10 feet in front of that for an apron, and now if it was my wife driving, she's an excellent driver. But for me, when I'm spinning the car in, I have issues. So the goal is anytime we do a home, I don't normally go with this direction. I always try to do a two-door garage. We usually like to do them 9 foot wide and 9 foot high. We like to make them extra large. When you start looking at the scope of what we're proposing here, we've actually brought the scale down. We've done everything. It is appropriate, I think, in this case to do this door. It's not like this was a 20-foot wide door. It is facing the service yard of the hotel. And again, although you have the alley of 20 feet, when you don't have that large apron, it is difficult to turn in and make sure you're not going to be hitting the columns in between the doors.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a choice that we really felt we would do on any home that was this type of situation where the radiuses are tough. It's not ideal, but as they said in the presentation, we're not facing the side street, we're not facing the front, so we felt this was appropriate. But that was the reason.
Okay. On the east elevation, this is my last question.
No, keep going.
If you insist.
Yes, it's your show.
Not exactly. Could we just? Yeah, that's the one I wanted to say. That gives me a sense of more massing, I think, than is really there, and I'm just wondering if the pitch on that roof could be changed and lower the profile from the sidewalk or from the street.
Yep, there.
Do that one there. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Chairman, so what happens is this. I think one of the things that's very deceiving when you're looking at elevation, a straight-on elevation, you're looking at about an eye level, which would be 20 feet up in the air. You're never going to see this elevation. You're never going to see that front elevation where you actually see the back of the building. We've actually done one of these homes over on First. It is impossible to see the back of the two-story. Now, with regards to the roof pitch, we intentionally did go high because we actually wanted to bring it more to scale with the two-story, bringing it down with that higher pitch. So it was intentional. I didn't want to see the south elevation where you're just seeing this tall element in the back that looks like an addition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we were trying to balance this out. We threw in the Boston hips. I mean, again, we're trying to break it up. We have the shed roofs. Again, it was more of taking away from that two-story element so it actually appears like it's one story. So it was intentional. I understand what you're talking about, but I actually do believe when it's not in 2D and it's 3D, you won't be seeing this. It is very dramatic when we show a 2D elevation, where you're seeing it this way, because it's impossible to see this.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Shall we make a motion?
I'll be happy to. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of the Certificate of Appropriateness Request 2025-056 for 146 Southeast 7th Avenue, Marina Historic District, by finding that the request and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second.
Call the roll.
John Miller,
Yes.
Ezra Krieg is absent, Peter Dwyer,
Yes.
Chris Kibizet is absent, Vlad Dumitrescu,
Yes.
Carol Perez stepped down, Jim Chard.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Board. Thank you, staff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's it. You want- You're gonna run it because there's
What part is
You
it?
do park.
But
You go like six times back and
Oh,
forth. With the person telling you, stop. It's really crazy.
All your hard work.
okay, we now move to another exciting part of our agenda.
Yes.
That-
Michelle Hoyland, principal
I guess you
planner.
want to do presentations first and then go on to the selection?
Yeah, so I will present the awards, and you'll deliberate after I've done the full presentation, so you can get a full view of each category, if that's okay with you.
But you don't have any other presentations other than that? Okay.
No, I have a board comment, but not a presentation at the end.
All right.
Okay. Michelle Hoyland, principal planner for the record. So as we approach May, which is coming up here in a month, it's Preservation Month. The National Trust for Historic Preservation honors people, places, spaces every year, along with municipalities like ourselves, and look at the good work that's been done in historic preservation across the country. So this is their 75th year anniversary of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Their theme this year, which it hasn't changed in a few years, so it's kind of exciting to see that they have a new theme. It's called The Power of Place. And I just think, here is a snippet that was in your backup for your memo in preparation for this. And I just want to read that, this began in 1973, Preservation Month. And the city of Delray Beach has been doing the Preservation Board Awards now. I think we're on our 4th or 5th year of bringing that back. We did it many years ago. John probably remembers when the board had Preservation Awards years ago. But I think it's important just to read this. There is no denying the role preservationists play in protecting historic spaces while meeting the needs of communities for the present and the future. This May, Preservation Month, we're celebrating the power of place and the countless ways, big and small, that preservation creates. The work you do strengthens communities, breathes new life into neighborhoods, supports a healthier planet, and builds a more just and connected society. And that's from the National Trust website. So I first want to thank the board members for your hours of contribution to the city in a volunteer capacity and serving on this board. We greatly appreciate the hard work that you put into looking over the agendas every month and coming to the meetings with important things to say and contributions to make. And I think that you're having quite a role in shaping our community and the work that you're doing. So I want to thank each and every one of you for serving the city of Delray Beach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. When we have our final awards, when we grant the awards, we have a ceremony in May at the first meeting after you deliberate and select winners tonight. At that meeting, we will do a piece on the historic Seaboard Railway Station, Seaboard Airline Railway Station, which is complete. Some of you may know it burned several years ago as a result of arson. The building largely had to be removed. Some of it was rehabilitated, most of it was reconstructed. We've got some great pictures to share with you. The city Human Resources Department is located out there along with the city clinic. The city has a healthcare clinic, and so they are in place and in operation. So it's beautiful. The interior is beautiful. There's little touches that kind of give a nod to the railroad use that existed for this building for many years. So next month we will have additional pictures of the inside to show you and the preservation effort. Here's our completed view of what this looks like today. I don't know if you've driven out there. The gates are open during the week if you're interested and want to drive out and walk through. It is a public building. You could go and take a peek inside or visit the outside if you're interested. So this year we have 4 award categories. Residential contributing for rehabilitation and addition, residential contributing for rehabilitation and accessory structure, residential contributing addition alone, and then commercial contributing rehabilitation. So our first category here, we have 2 nominees for the rehabilitation and addition category. The first nominee is 108 North Swinton Avenue in the Old School Square Historic District. The second is 310 Northeast First Avenue. This property is just north of Space of Mind, 2 parcels north of Dada's on the west side of Swinton. The home existed like this for many years. When the owner came to us, she was interested in looking at possible restoration of different elements of the building. And you can see the after photograph here. One of the elements that she restored was the original front porch, which exposed the bungalow piers that surround that front porch. The addition in the rear with this is tucked away in the back with a garage accessing the north-south alley on the rear. You can see here's a before picture. Building definitely needed some love, and it's quite an improvement. This is that north side where the pool was kind of tucked back into the side of the building and the north side of the site. Use of Chicago brick pavers and the gingerbreading you can see with the scallop gable detail. They did a really lovely job. This is the rear. The addition in the back portion of that addition was removed to make way for new addition, which increased the size of the structure, and then the garage that accesses off the alley. So that's our first applicant, or our first nominee, I should say. Our next nominee is 310 Northeast First Avenue. This is a before picture. It's hard to think what needed to happen, right? It's such a beautiful home. And these owners gave even more love to this structure. They came through and did enclose the carport and included an addition in the back, which I'll show you in a moment. So this is the after photo. They worked to ensure they preserved those cross design or X design, almost trellis-like feature on the front porch, and removed what was a 1980s kind of porch railing you can see around the bottom there, in favor of having an open porch at the base. This is the rear of the property that faced the alley. This is the new rear now with a small dip pool in the back and patio and covered porch area, and then a garage facing the rear alley. So they also tucked the addition into the back of the home, and like the other applicant, designed it so it was not forward of the front facade and making sure that it was as inconspicuous as possible. So that's our first 2 sets of items, and if you want to stop here and talk through and deliberate, feel free, or I can go on to the next categories and we can look at everything and then circle back. So I think you asked me in the beginning, and that was what I was going to do, but if you want me to do something different, I'm happy to stop here.
I'd rather just vote and move on, but
Yeah.
Okay.
You might have to remember back for.
yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
get.
I'm open. I mean,
Is there any owners of any of these here tonight? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because these 2 are really tough, and if you show up, that gets points in my mind. So, I mean, I'll start. I like the top one just simply because they opened up the front porch. I love that. So, and I watched that one happen, and they probably put as much money into rehabbing this house as the building 2 new ones. So,
Yeah, they
I
took
mean,
it
that
down-
would be
they
my vote, but.
Took it down to the studs. Peter?
Yeah, I'm for the top one as well. I watched it go up and I love it. Excellent execution and just a great property. The people that did it actually lived on my street temporarily, so I got to talk to them a little bit. And really nice job.
I also vote for that one, for one way. Yeah.
Carol?
It's hard, but
I also vote for the top one. I mean, both are, yeah, both are very nice. I think the transformation on the one on the top is amazing, and it really adds to Swinton's beauty.
Yeah, that's.
I'm going to vote with the majority here. The thing that really catches me is when you drive by, as I'm sure Carol and I do every day, it just really attracts your vision to that. The way it's laid out, the carport on the side, the plantings. It's just a beautiful, beautiful job.
Yeah, I actually, the owner donated a bunch of the old materials to the Historical Society, so I went over there and collected some glass doorknobs and stuff before that, and I mean, there were places you wouldn't walk on that floor, so kudos to her for taking it on. So do we need to have a formal vote, or what do we need to do, or you have a consensus, I think?
I think you should do a motion. Just do, a motion to approve 108 North Swinton Avenue as the winner of the residential contributing rehabilitation and addition.
Yeah. I have a motion
And
up
you
there
could just
for
say
you.
so moved if you
Okay.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay. Or read what she wrote.
Yeah.
Clyde, you want to do it?
okay, so motion to approve the 108 Swinton, North Swinton Avenue on the Old School Square Historic District as the winner of the 2025 Historic Preservation Board Award for the category of Residential Contributing Rehabilitation and Addition.
Second.
We don't need to call them roll in this, right? Just
Do we need to call roll?
No, whatever you guys want. If you want to do an all in favor, that's
everyone in
fine.
favor. Yeah.
Yep.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Okay. So our next category, residential contributing rehabilitation and accessory structure. So our two nominees are 125 Northeast First Avenue in the Old School Square Historic District and 170 Marine Way in the Marina Historic District. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this property. There was a gentleman who lived here. I believe he was a veteran. He was here for many years. And I don't remember what happened, but he ended up moving away or leaving the property, and new owners came in. They came before the board and came before you and asked for rehabilitation of both the front and rear structure with some addition on the back structure. Staff toured the property. It was in quite the condition. This had lots of love needed for this structure. And so the owners completely rehabilitated the front structure and the back has a small addition on the front, like a porch area. It was kind of crazy to see how the structures were built in the interior, how they were put together. So we can see here they added new siding, or replacement wood siding. They added a little front stoop porch area. New roof. This is one of our metal shingle roofs on the main structure. And I did not get to see the interior. Michelle and Katharina, I think, did. They said it was quite lovely. This is another before picture here looking at the front. And this is an after, so just very simple and clean lines on this structure. This is the back. which had, you can see lean-to type of additions. There were several of these. And this is the completed west elevation, so facing the back of the house and facing First Avenue with new stoop and door. We were lucky that Google Street View went down the back because we wouldn't have had this picture in our arsenal. Quite interesting to see where it's come with the new front porch stoop in the back here as well. So that's 125 Northeast First Ave. This is looking at that back structure on the south side where that new porch was added. And then we have 170 Marine Way. This home was moved to this site many years ago. It's individually designated as a historic structure. And there had been several iterations of alterations proposed for this over the years, a few different owners that came through and made alterations to those approved plans. And now the owners that have it now executed and completed the project. I don't know, for those of you who had driven by this, it had sat for quite a while after the guest house in the back was built, and the piece in the front that was approved hadn't been completed because that sale occurred. So these owners came in and brought the ball across the finish line. And you can see here, I'm excited to see what's going to look like in a year when the trees are fully grown in and landscaping's grown in. Both of these properties, the one prior and this. So there's some new landscaping. You can see what's kind of peeking out here on the right side of the screen. This is new addition. They had struggles with finished floor elevation requirements because it is in the FEMA flood zone district, so the entirety of this house also is elevated. This is looking at the corner as if you were standing at Marine Way and 2nd Street, and now with the new fence, landscaping, and some addition kind of peeking out here too. This is if you were standing at 2nd Street, looking north, and the structure in the background is the next property over. And this is what that looks like now inside their pool area with their covered entertainment area. On the right side of the picture is part of the addition that was added to the main structure. And on the left side, in the next picture I'll show you, but that's where the garage and guest house on the 2nd floor exists. So this is again looking at that view, and now the new garage built back there, and accessory structure above. So these are your two nominees in the category of rehabilitation and accessory structure.
That is a tough one.
It's tough. Which one? The first one. Good. I was hoping you were the first one because I like that one better.
Can we ask that question, Kelly?
Already been asked, so.
Can there be
I think they're both gorgeous. I like the top one just because it was the overall footprint really didn't change, and it just brought it back to life, so to speak. I mean, there was probably a lot more money invested in the second one, but I just think, that first one looked, it was almost like a hoarding situation there for a long time. It was pretty bad.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
It's been said, right?
The picture I took off of the rear, this one, was after this owner purchased the property and cleared it out. I considered putting the picture in, which was before they bought it, and you couldn't see any of the structure.
Yeah.
With everything that was on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a great location. Those are my thoughts.
I think the gentleman who lived there maybe needed bigger property elsewhere, because I think he was quite, the collector. He had things of importance to him.
Well, Delray's changed over the years. That was a lot more common back in the day, too. So.
Yeah.
Carol, do you have any comments?
Can there be two winners?
Yeah, that would be nice.
I think they're very different projects. You got a huge undertaking on the one for 170 Marine Way, and then 121 and 125 is just that was a great project too. They're just a little different.
Did consider that when we brought these two as contenders against each other, because one was almost the investment that had to be made in this one here and getting the property safe was not the same situation for the other one, where they had a livable property that anybody could have moved in and lived in. So bringing it up to standards versus improving standards, we did struggle a bit with putting them against each other, but we thought that the trade-offs were fair, that each could be looked at independently, but also judged against each other. So I get your thought on that.
This one was also raised?
This one was not.
This one.
The other one was.
So and then the pool area for 170, it's a courtyard situation.
Yes.
Right?
They constructed the new garage on the left side of the screen to create that courtyard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Site.
Can I? Sure. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just curious a little bit because they're so different, the two, and I have value, of course. And now that this whole thing it was clear to me a little bit what the effort for the first one was. I definitely find it had more value ultimately than the second one. But I'm also curious. Do you know if they actually work with an architect, or there was a work of love just themselves?
They did. They worked with design professionals. And I think somebody asked if you could have a tie. I mean, if the board really felt that these were that different, that they both merited some kind of award, you could separate and create a separate category even, so that they each won. We have had ties in the past. Not that I'm trying to be diplomatic, but I'm also trying to respect that you're seeing somewhat of a difference, maybe not in agreement with what I had suggested. So
It's very millennial of you. Everybody gets a trophy.
I appreciate that, but I'm Gen X and I like to get my trophy.
I agree with you. Hey, I was at Violent Femmes this weekend.
But I do respect the amount of effort and money and time that have gone into both of these projects.
Well, I'd like to make a motion, and we'll see how it votes out. So, anybody? I'd like to move that could you put it up there so I get the language?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move to approve 121-125 Northeast First Avenue, Old School Square Historic District as the winner of the 2025 Historic Preservation Board Award for the category of residential contributing rehabilitation and accessory structure.
And I'll second that.
Did we want to consider Michelle's suggestion of making an extra category, or? I mean, it just seems to me that when we have residents that spend that much time and money to preserve the buildings, that they shouldn't come in second.
I mean, they have a beautiful house. I'd trade any day for that.
Yeah.
I will say that house, though, it wasn't that's new construction relatively. The Marine.
So the
Marine
garage
Way.
is new, but the house itself is a historic, individually designated home that was moved there.
It was moved there. Okay, because I
Yeah.
remember it being an empty lot.
Years ago it was,
It was
yeah.
an
So
empty
this
lot.
was a home that was saved. Interestingly, the lot it was on, it was sitting sideways on the lot. So the front of the house faced an interior side. So when it came here, it really got to kind of shine.
Okay.
But yeah, it was moved
Okay.
in a saving effort.
Do you know if that one has an architect that we know? Because I'm suspecting that they're going to get an award for the house through the architect.
So the owner gets the award. There have been a number of architects on this project over the years that did the renovation. I want to say there were 3. So there was a kind of a progression of design professionals.
It looks like one that as an architect, I would definitely submit for an award.
Yeah. It was the original architect that came in. I'd have to go. Their name is escaping me. And then the owners sold, and the new owners came in, and they had their architect, and then they sold, and the new owners came in, and I think they had their own. So I think there were 3. There were at least 2 that had their fingerprints on this.
We still have the discussion, I think. We have the motion and the second.
Motion and a second.
As to whether you might want to amend the motion to accommodate them both.
No.
Okay. All right, let's call the roll.
John Miller,
Yes.
for 125. Is that, you're telling me?
121, 125, yeah.
Okay. Peter Dwyer
Yes.
for 125.
Yes, 125.
Vlad Dumitrescu,
Yes, the same one, 121.
Carol Perez,
Yes.
Jim Chard.
Yes.
Okay.
Forced my hand.
Hey. Wish the chair could make a motion, right? You can pass the gavel.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm realizing that the pictures on here are the wrong pictures, but the addresses are right, and I've got the extended pictures. So
It's correct in the presentation on the.
is it
screen.
okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened here. I'm sorry, but these two this category is residential contributing addition. So disregard the pictures on this page, but I'll go through a more detailed explanation of both. 300 Southeast 7th Avenue in the Marina Historic District, and 240 North Dixie Boulevard in the Delida Park Historic District. So you will probably remember this. This is Southeast 7th Avenue at the southwest corner of 3rd and 7th. This owner came through with an addition to the rear of the structure. And you can see here that this is the after photo. They added a 2-car garage and additional living area on the 2nd floor of that garage structure, which connected to the main structure. The before pictures, we don't have a ton of really great ones because it was heavily landscaped. Don't forget, this is the home of the Blank Family Nursery, the Marina Historic District. So we love that this owner has so many trees on their property. They really take their trees pretty seriously. I remember them talking about it at the meeting. But here's a view inside their motor court where you can see the new addition added onto the back of the home. Part of what you can't see too great, but they did make some adjustments to the existing structure to take off. I think there was kind of like this tile feature that was on the side of the building to bring it back to a more original appearance where the building connected to the new addition. So this is a before looking at the front, and I just wanted to note that, you know, there's some improvements that have been made along the front of the property as well. So here's 240 North Dixie Boulevard. These owners were, I think, renting this property for a long time and decided to come home to Delida Park. And they moved back here with their son, and their son's a little bit older, so they wanted to create an addition in the back of the house to have space for him on the property. So the rear of the property was vacant. This is a mid-century modern style structure. And they added this little guest house in the back of the home. And so you can see here, this is what would be kind of their north elevation, or this is facing the back of the existing main structure in place of this vacant area. And this little space houses, I believe a bedroom and bathroom, if I remember correctly, inside of this structure here. And it's also in the mid-century modern approach with a little bit more of a twist of today's architecture, which is completely appropriate for contributing structures in the Delida Park Historic District. So those are our two contenders for residential contributing addition.
Discussion? It's your neighborhood. Peter.
Yeah, my neighborhood. I like the one on Dixie Boulevard. I think that architecturally has a lot more to offer than the other one, although it's a great addition. I would go for 240 North Dixie Boulevard.
I agree. I just love the way that looks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
And that one, it's kind of, it's unfortunate you can't really see the whole thing as well. But I mean, that little mid-century just looks great to me. I love the way that looks.
I agree too. I mean, it's really 240 is definitely more contributing, brings more to Delray.
I agree.
That was easy.
Okay,
It's
Pete.
attractive, though. I think it's attractive. I'd like to make a motion that we, where's the language? Let's see.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 240 North Dixie Boulevard as the winner of the 2025 Historic Preservation Board Award for the category of Residential Contributing Addition.
Second. Come on, Dan.
I think we're going to need Pete to be our MC the night of the awards.
100%.
Giving
Well, thank
the
you.
awards.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
Coming out of his shell. Let's
Do you want to do an all in favor?
I do. I mean, I think
All in favor?
Diane does.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Just to be clear, for
I
the
know.
record, I think those were all two. You guys
We
were
all
all in
approved.
favor,
We
right?
all agree.
Okay.
Okay, final category is commercial contributing rehabilitation. So these two projects are both in the Old School Square Historic District. The 143 South Swinton Avenue was a home once in the Sunday family ownership and is currently H&M Architecture. I believe you've seen these gentlemen come before you. Some of you have. Several times for this. They relocated their business from Boynton into Delray Beach. The second nominee is 202 North Swinton Avenue. I believe the owner is here for this one, sitting in the audience, in case you were interested. This is on the corner of 2nd Street, Northwest 2nd Street and 2nd Avenue, so it's right catty corner from City Hall. The improvements to 202 included exterior renovation of the structure, alteration. The building in the back had some alterations as well. In fact, you might remember it came before you and needed to be reconstructed completely, which is partly why we put these two against each other, because we didn't have any others to put against each other. The first one on top did have quite an addition added, like in an L shape around the north and east sides of that building, which I'll show you some more pictures as we go through. But we did put them against each other because there was an investment that had to be made in rebuilding that back accessory structure to be able to be occupied for office in a safe manner. And just a matter of note, not that this affected this current property owner, I just remember as a child, 202 North Swinton had burned. And sat for many years, burned out. I don't know what happened, how the fire started, but for years and years and years. So the fact that that building's still sitting here is kind of amazing. While the first building was associated with the Sundays, the second building was associated with St. Paul's
St.
Church.
Paul.
It was their rectory. And this was moved down the block. So it's kind of amazing that it made it through a move. It's made it through a fire. And then we had this renovation that really needed the structure. Both of these structures needed quite a bit of love. The first one, I don't know if any of you recall, had floorboards in the attic supporting the roof, where there were no real roof member supports. So they've each had different challenges like that, where the accessory structure on the bottom example also had some structural stability issues. So here is 143 South Swinton Avenue. This is a view from Southeast 2nd Street and Swinton. Looking pretty good here, I have to say, but knowing what was happening on the interior, it's kind of surprising seeing the exterior. So here is a new view of that corner. They opened up the porch that was existing in that front portion of the building, and there were like some louvered shutters that were there in place. There was a lot of care you can see in the roof brackets that were retained, so architectural details and important characteristics to the style that were retained in the building, with the cedar shake siding and gable roof detailing. Also, there was a different kind of shake siding there. Here you can see the addition. This, I couldn't believe I took this picture. This almost looked AI to me because it's so crisp. But this is their addition where you see the H&M logo on the right side. So that's the portion that was added to the structure. This is a view of the south side. You can see St. Paul's kind of out in the background there across the street. And this is a view of the new south side. So this is the front up here, and what you really, I couldn't get it any better because of landscaping. That's the portion that's in the front, and this is the new addition back here that wrapped around the side. And just a few pictures of their detailing of their siding detail that they replicated from original to the new. And so here we have 202 North Swinton Avenue. The important features we thought were the porch on the front, the gable detail, which we were able to substantiate through some older photographs, was original to the building. This is our after photo of this structure with the new shake siding roof. It had new siding where it needed it and repaired siding where it could be repaired. They also brought back some features that were kind of obscured in the first picture, which are those porch bracket details. Everything on this, the interiors of both of these buildings are gorgeous. We've toured both. This is, I believe, an attorney's office now. This is a view from the western corner on 2nd Street, looking at the building, and this is completed. This was taken today. We were anxiously waiting for the landscaping to go in. It was just happening. So this is fresh landscaping. The walkway is all completed. And you can see now here in this structure, or in this photo, the accessory structure has had some alterations and been rebuilt. So it was rebuilt from the ground up. I don't know if you remember, they had to kind of demolish and start over with this one. This is a western view of the main structure. I'm sorry, this is a southern view of the main structure, and interestingly, you can see the porch windows, which were like an awning configuration, and now we have this single hung porch windows, preservation of that gable arch detail at the roof line, and those porch brackets, some things that we think are very important to the style of this building. This is looking at the interior side on the northwest corner, looking towards the southeast. And yeah, so those are our two nominees for the category of commercial contributing rehabilitation.
I think they each get harder as we go along.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had enough to have a commercial category. Yeah.
I think they both deserve an award. So.
There's a lot of work that went into both. Yeah. I mean, the Sunday one was in pretty bad shape. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was in really bad shape, and I like that they opened up the porch. The other one, though, is one of my favorite houses in Delray, period. Just love driving by. And I think it was owned by the Ledbetters at some point. They were electrician in town, and
yeah.
Hopefully that's not why it burned, but I don't remember that. But one thing I really love is the shake roof. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just, green with windows withstanding.
And interestingly, these windows are green too.
Oh, okay.
Which
all right,
we had a discussion internally. You don't really pick up on because of the steep roof overhang, but they are also green windows. So we thought you might say that, and I wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I like the 202 North Swing, but whatever.
So can we do two or no? We
You
have
can
to
do-
switch. We
You
have
can
to
do
find the
whatever you want.
No, we have to do a different definition. We have to split them, or
You would have to tie them.
You can, yeah, you can do it.
I
as
think
one,
in this
think.
case, in the other case, there might have been, we could have said one per historic district award, but they're the same district. They're both commercial. I don't know how we would change the category, but if you had a suggestion, we could talk through it.
I think they're both deserving as well.
absolutely.
I would hate to see them, anyone walk away empty-handed. They're great projects.
If it's the tie that's bothering, I mean, you could recommend them both for the award of commercial contributing rehabilitation. I mean,
I may have
it's
to give
got
up the
the
gavel to
same-
make that motion.
the same result, but
I just,
That's right. Yeah.
I have a special affinity for both of these buildings. When I first came to Delray, 202 North Swinton was available for sale, and I toured through it and the accessory building, and have driven by it so many times, and just watching the work that was done on it. But I also 143 South Swinton. That is so amazing. I think that. That Michelle understated the amount of work that was done, because it wasn't just the roof and the tie beams, it was the walls, it was the foundation. They totally did a new foundation. It's just
That's true.
amazing.
I forgot the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I've taken some pictures of this place, and
I
it sort of looks
crawled
like
under
like a ghost building. That
Yeah.
So I would certainly like someone to make a motion that they both win.
Not gonna be me. But I'll support whatever the board goes with.
Okay.
So.
I'll move that both 143 South Swinton Avenue and 202 North Swinton Avenue win the award for the 2025 Historic Preservation Board Awards for commercial contributing rehabilitation.
Second that.
Diane? Yep. No.
No.
I don't think so.
You just have to be synchronized.
Yeah.
you can just do an all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Well, congratulations to all of our winners. For those that are here and those that are watching at the next meeting in May, which is May 7th, we are going to give you your awards and ask that you take photographs with the board if you're open to it, so we can honor your hard work and commitment to historic preservation in Delray Beach. And thank you so much. Congrats. So our next board meeting, May 7th, I did send an email out to you, I think yesterday or Monday, I forget which day it was, addressing the upcoming training opportunity that is happening at the end of the month. Some of you have reached out and asked for some help and guidance on training, and I think once I speak with our director and get clearance, I'd like to come forward with a training of our own that we can do within the city here. But in the interim, I don't know when that's going to happen and our time frame to make that schedule occur, and plus getting the approval to do so. In the meantime, the state of Florida will be here doing their regional certified local government training. So they invite board members, staff, city commissioners from our regional area to come up to Delray Beach, and they're hosting here this year at Old School Square for a 2-day conference, Thursday, April 24th and Friday, April 25th. I sent you the email with the attachments, the agenda, and the speakers. It's a free registration, which is pretty great. You will have to have lunch on your own, but we will do a walking tour. I believe we're going to do Bankers Row, and then a reception. I think, I don't want to announce yet, but I think it's in the information that you may receive for the registration at a local restaurant. where you would be on your own again for any kind of food and snacks, but it'd be a good opportunity to network with other board members and staff and professionals from the regional area. So there's some very important training, what it means to be a board member, the hard decisions that you're making, how do you apply the standards that we have, in our staff reports. These are standards that are applied at a national level, so you would be amongst your peers, and we'd love for you to register. It's only 30 people, so if you can make the commitment to going, make it soon, because we expect that 30 to fill up pretty quickly.
And that registration is for both days? I
Yeah.
mean, it's because it was all day both days, right?
Yeah.
I saw that, and that's going to be tough, but I would
Yeah, it
love
definitely
to
is a
pop in.
commitment of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very worthy. If you absolutely can't get away, we know you work and it's a 2-day commitment. We do hope to have a training at a board meeting sometime in the future. I just love the opportunity for you to interact with people coming from a national scale. It's kind of invaluable. So the fact
What are the
that
dates again, Michelle?
April 24th and 25th.
Mm-hmm.
The
3
fact
weeks.
that they chose Del Rey and we were able to accommodate them is pretty great. They love our old school square at the state.
Should walk them across the street to the
Yeah, they're
Historical Society campus there.
Yeah,
'cause
we're gonna
there's
walk
gonna be a
past
lot.
it.
That's the they're setting up for the Twilight Party that Saturday.
Okay.
So the whole campus is going to be set up nice.
Yeah, one of the gentlemen from the state asked about doing a reception there, and I knew things were about to be happening. So I said maybe the restaurant would be less hectic, but we will walk past the Historical Society on our way up the street. Yeah. So that's what I have to add on that. The item that was continued last month, the applicant is working to revise plans. They probably won't be before you until June because of some changes that they're making. So we've already had some conversations with them. That's all I have. Does anybody have anything for me? No?
Thank you for all your hard work, Michelle.
Thanks, Carol.
One thing I can say,
Sweet.
I like that you put in the dates of the submission and the revisions and all that. That's
Yep.
very good to have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a call by our director. Yeah, thank you.
Well, what's in the pipeline? What's coming at us? Just a snapshot.
It's hard to say. Most applicants need to be in the month prior. So if they haven't submitted by now, the bigger projects, it takes a month and a few days to get on an agenda. So I don't know that we have too stacked of an agenda for May, but if we have, a roof come in like this, we're trying to squeeze those people on and move them through quickly. So I can't really say right now.
Okay.
As far as big projects, I think we're going to have an in lieu request coming forward potentially for May. A commercial project in West Settlers, I believe, is potentially for May. We have quite a few things in the pipeline, but once it's in the applicant's hands, we don't know when it'll be before you because they have to respond to their comments.
Thank you.
The calendar remains the same in terms of all of the meetings, like July 2nd.
Yeah, I don't have July 2nd. We're on.
Okay.
I
think
believe I
June is
passed out the
6th.
calendar at the beginning.
June 4th.
That's the.
Because I remember last year we had quite a few people absent on at least one meeting. And
Yeah. I think we were good for July though.
yeah, I think we were too.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that I did speak before the city commission when they had the new code enforcement director there. And
I heard your comments and I have to say thank you so much.
I was thinking about you the whole time.
I appreciated, I know you weren't, but I appreciated what you said.
Well,
I thought it was very well said.
I think you gave us some fairly good direction in terms, very good direction in terms of how to handle that. And she approached me the next day and said that she had brought that up at her meeting of her code enforcement officers, and that she had 2 volunteers who would be basically assigned to historic preservation. And I suggested to her that she be here tonight just to see how we operate. And she was going to come, but had something else happen. I think we're going to see a whole new excitement and forward action out of there.
I've been hopeful that once I've watched pretty much every commission meeting since she's been hired and prior. And so I've seen the interactions, and I haven't wanted to bombard her because I know she's got a lot on her plate. But I would like to talk with my director and see if we can organize a meeting with her and her staff. You know, periodically we would do trainings with code enforcement and talk to them and tell them about historic and what it means, and that we're always available should they have questions and they're not sure if something should be a violation. We haven't done one in a while, so I'm thinking one would be helpful and be in order. But I also have a list, as you all have, you know, made us aware, plus things we've heard from the public that need attention. And so I think an internal gathering would be a good idea once she's all settled. Yeah.
And I have one final one, just to ask you, what's the process for a privately initiated historic designation? And the reason I ask the question is there is a lovely building on Federal that's now Custom Automotive, which at one time was one of the Florida wayside stands that you'd stop and buy coconuts or corals or what have you. And I think they're very interested in preserving.
The property owners are?
Yes.
Okay, so if the property owners are interested and they would consent to designation, what we often do is suggest they reach out to some of our historic preservation advocates in the community. And I don't want to say, I don't want to be like, call this guy, but there are people who are great at writing designation reports, and so they can offer their time and assistance in a volunteer capacity to help the owner research, write the report, and prepare the application for submittal. It's really not that hard. The application fee, I think, is, I mean, if it's $200, I'd be surprised. It's pretty cheap. But then they would submit, come through, we review the application, and we begin the public hearing process. So when somebody's trying to designate on their own, it's not hard. They can come right in and do it, and it's an ordinance. So it's a modification of the LDRs because the individual designations are housed in the local register, which is in the code. So it's done by an ordinance adoption procedure, which is 2 public hearings before commission. PZB sees it, HPB sees it. So you know, it can move pretty swiftly.
Well, if the owners are interested, it just seems to me like one way to continue the expansion of historical preservation in Delray
Oh,
Beach.
we're always trying. So if you have somebody, we're happy to talk with them and give them support and guidance. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Peter?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go.